I never imagined that a single envelope slipping through my mailbox could make my blood run ice cold. But when I saw the official-looking seal and the bold letters, Summons, Civil Action, my stomach sank straight to my shoes. Inside were 30 pages claiming I owed the HOA $47,000 for supposedly unauthorized exterior changes, and threatening foreclosure within 14 days if I didn't pay up. The strangest part? I hadn't touched a thing on my house. But Karen from the board had been monitoring every mailbox like a hawk. And what she did next turned our quiet cul-de-sac into a battlefield nobody expected. My name's Alex. My wife, Jess, and I had moved into Willow Creek 2 years ago, finally escaping the cramped apartment life for a cozy little blue house with a white picket fence. We loved the tree-lined streets, the Friday night block parties, the full suburban dream. Then we met Karen Whitmore. Platinum blonde bob, clipboard permanently glued to her hand, and a smile that never reached her eyes. She ran the HOA like it was her personal kingdom. During our first week, she left a neon pink violation notice on my windshield because my trash bins had been visible 2.7 seconds longer than regulations allowed. Everyone laughed it off. Everyone was wrong. It started small. Mrs. Delgado received a letter claiming her grandson's sidewalk chalk violated permanent markings Clause 17B. The Patels got a certified notice insisting their baby's soft night light caused light pollution. One by one, thick, legal-looking envelopes arrived, always postmarked from some Nevada law office none of us had ever heard of. Panic spread. Some neighbors paid hundreds just to make it stop. I thought Jess and I were safe because we followed every rule to the letter. We even measured our grass with a ruler to ensure it never exceeded 4 inches. Then my envelope arrived. I tore it open in the driveway and felt my world tilt. Page after page of accusations. Unpermitted fence stain, illegal mailbox flag, satellite dish installed 0.3 inches too low. Every photo attached either had been photoshopped or angled to make ordinary things appear criminal. At the bottom, a demand for $47,000 and a court date in 30 days. Jess came home, saw my pale face, and read it herself. Tears streamed down her face. We had just emptied our savings to cover her mother's medical bills. We didn't have 47,000 pennies, let alone dollars. That night, we knocked on every door around the circle. 8 other families had identical packets, all with varying amounts, all threatening liens and foreclosure. The Patels owed $62,000. Sweet Mrs. Delgado, 78 and living on Social Security, had been hit for $29,000 over structurally unsound rose trellis. We laid all the fake summonses on my dining room table like evidence in a murder case. Same font, same phony law firm letterhead, same Nevada postmark. Someone was printing these in bulk and sending them certified, so we'd freak out and pay. Then Mr. Chun, a paralegal friend, noticed the pattern. The case numbers were sequential but skipped county codes. The judge's name was misspelled, and the law firm's address was a UPS store. These weren't real lawsuits. They were professional-grade scare letters, crafted to look official enough that terrified homeowners would blindly write checks to whatever account number appeared at the bottom. And every single one of us had Karen's fingerprints all over it, because only the HOA board had access to our exterior photos, paint codes, and original permit applications. Jess was shaking with fury. She's doing this herself. She whispered. She's trying to drive people out. I stared at the stack of fake notices and felt something inside me snap. I'd spent my entire life avoiding conflict, but seeing Mrs. Delgado clutch her summons with trembling hands sparked a fire I didn't know I had. The next morning, I marched straight to Karen's McMansion at the end of the cul-de-sac, envelope in hand, ready to confront her. She opened the door in a silk robe, casually sipping coffee like nothing was wrong. I held up the papers and demanded, "Explain this." Her smile twisted like smoke. "Oh, Alex, some rules are more expensive than others." Then she slammed the door in my face, leaving me standing there, realizing this wasn't just harassment, this was fraud. And she thought she was untouchable. What nobody knew yet, what would come out in the most satisfying way possible, was that Karen had been maintaining a very detailed spreadsheet, and one inquisitive mail carrier was about to blow her entire scheme wide open. I wish I could say confronting Karen shook her, But the second that door closed, my phone erupted. The group chat was blowing up. 8 more neighbors had just found fresh envelopes in their mailboxes. Thicker this time, now threatening immediate sale of property within 72 hours. One even had a fake sheriff seal realistic enough to make Mr. Patel start packing his garage at midnight. Karen wasn't backing down. She was escalating. I couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I was hunched over my laptop, combing through public records and HOA bylaws until my eyes burned. That's when I noticed the first crack. Every fine payment was supposed to go through the official HOA management company, but the routing numbers on the fake summons pointed to a random LLC registered in Delaware called Willow Creek Compliance Partners. One guess who the registered agent was? Karen Marie Whitmore. The next day, Jess and I called an emergency block meeting in the cul-de-sac. 23 furious homeowners showed up, some still clutching their fake papers as if they were ticking grenades. We voted on the spot to hire a real lawyer and pooled $10,000 in just 2 hours. Mrs. Delgado wrote a shaking check for $800 she didn't have. By noon, we had retained Mark Rivera, a pitbull attorney whose career was built on taking down abusive HOAs. Mark glanced at the stack of summonses and laughed, really laughed, before saying the words that let us all breathe for the first time in weeks. This is felony mail fraud, wire fraud, extortion, forgery of court documents. Pick your charge. That very afternoon, he filed an emergency temporary restraining order and had a process server slap it on Karen while she power walked past her house in neon leggings. You'd think that would stop her. It didn't. 2 mornings later, at 6:03 a.m., a tow truck arrived to haul away the Patel's minivan for unpaid assessments. The driver handed them a clipboard filled with paperwork that looked identical to the fake lawsuits. The Patels called me, screaming. I sprinted over in my pajamas and saw Karen standing on her lawn, filming the whole thing, smirking like she'd won the lottery. I lost it. I marched straight up to the tow driver, showed him Mark's restraining order on my phone, and warned him that if the truck moved 1 inch, he'd be named in a federal lawsuit by lunch. The driver went pale, called his boss, and 10 minutes later, the truck peeled away empty. Karen's face as it drove off was pure venom. She hissed loud enough for everyone to hear. You just made this personal, Alex. That night, she escalated further. Motion-activated sprinklers blasted anyone passing her house after dark. Someone egged my front door and spray-painted snitch across my garage. My Ring camera caught a figure in a black hoodie at 2 a.m. dumping roofing nails in my driveway. I found them before leaving for work and nearly cried with relief that our tires were fine. Then came her masterpiece. Karen filed actual HOA liens on every single one of us, 23 in one day, claiming emergency assessments for community safety upgrades. The amounts were absurd, $18,000 each. Our credit scores tanked overnight. One neighbor, Tom, was denied a car loan and had to cancel transportation for his daughter's leukemia treatment. That's when fear turned into fury. Mark told us to hold tight, said he had a nuclear option brewing, but we needed one last piece of proof. So, I did something I'm still not proud of. I created a fake Gmail account pretending to be a panicked new homeowner willing to pay quietly to avoid court. I messaged Karen asking for wiring instructions. 8 minutes later, she responded with a Delaware LLC account again, adding, smart choice. Some people have to learn the hard way. Screenshot sent to Mark. Game over, or so we thought. What nobody expected, what would obliterate Karen's smug empire, was a United States Postal Inspector who had been tracking every certified envelope for 6 weeks. And the little green notebook he pulled from Karen's recycling, it listed every single payment she'd pocketed. But that bombshell was still 3 days away, before the judge finally shut her down for good. Karen had one last insane move that left the neighborhood speechless and nearly cost Mrs. Delgado her life. The morning of the emergency hearing, the courthouse parking lot looked like a Willow Creek reunion. 23 neighbors in their Sunday best, Mark in a shark gray suit carrying a clanking banker's box, and Karen strutting alone, designer sunglasses on, Botox frozen in triumph, waving to the local news van like she was the victim. Inside the courtroom, Judge Ramirez, a no-nonsense veteran of HOA horror stories, didn't let Karen finish her opening whimper. Mark stood and said 4 words. "Your Honor, live feed." He hit play on the projector. There it was, Karen on her own Ring camera at 1:14 a.m., dressed in black, carrying a cardboard box to Mrs. Delgado's porch. She rang the bell, ran to her hiding spot, and filmed 78-year-old Mrs. Delgado open her door, read the new fake summons taped to a brick, then collapsed clutching her chest. The courtroom went dead silent. You could hear Mrs. Delgado in the back row crying again. Paramedics had revived her with sheer determination and aspirin, but the 911 call played next, the terror in her voice breaking everyone. Then Mark dropped the nuclear bomb. Postal Inspector Ramirez, no relation to the judge, took the stand holding a neon green spiral notebook sealed in evidence tape. Inside, for years of meticulous records. Every fake lawsuit, every payment to Delaware LLC, every neighbor targeted, every dollar she'd stolen. Total so far, $487,000. She even color-coded us. Red for difficult, green for paid. Karen's face turned the color of spoiled milk. Mark kept going. Bank records showed she spent the money on a leased Porsche, a nose job, and a Cabo timeshare. The Nevada law firm? A virtual mailbox rented for $29 a month. Certified mail receipts, all signed by her in fake names with left-handed scrawls she practiced for months. The judge didn't wait for closing statements. "Ma'am, you weaponize the United States mail to terrorize senior citizens. You're remanded into custody immediately." The bailiff had to catch Karen. Her knees buckled when the cuffs came out. But the real twist, the one that still makes me tear up, came during sentencing 2 months later. Every single neighbor showed up again. Mrs. Delgado walked to the podium, oxygen tank behind her like a loyal companion, and said, "I forgive her, but forgiveness doesn't pay my hospital bills." Then one by one, we read our victim impact statements aloud. When it was my turn, I looked Karen in the eye and said, "You tried to steal our homes. Instead, you gave us a family." The judge ordered full restitution for $187,000 plus $200,000 in punitive damages, payable immediately from the sale of Karen's McMansion, which the bank foreclosed on the next week. Because she committed felony fraud as HOA president, the management company voided every lien she'd filed. Credit scores restored overnight. Fireworks that night in the cul-de-sac were louder than the 4th of July. Last I heard, Karen lives in a 1-bedroom apartment 40 miles away, working retail, panicking every time she sees a certified mail truck. We turned her old house into a community center. Mrs. Delgado teaches gardening classes on the lawn that used to be Karen's pride and joy. The Patels host movie nights in the driveway, where the minivan almost got towed. And every mailbox now has a little wooden sign. Kindness lives here. Sometimes justice doesn't just win. Sometimes it plants roses right on the grave of a tyrant's ego.